Praise the Lord, Summit Kids Ministry. Thank you for joining us for another week of remote learning. My name is Brother Matt, and this week we are already on our third lesson of our 5-part series entitled Christian Living. Today our lesson is on being a good example, and we're going to learn how people can see Jesus Christ living inside of us based off of being a good example and demonstrating correct Christian attitudes and behaviors. This lesson is based off of 1 Timothy 4:12, and it states, "Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity." We use examples all the time to help us better understand. The Bible is full of examples. Noah was an example of a righteous man, Abraham was an example of faith, David was an example of courage, and Judas, well, he was an example of a betrayal. We know it's better to be a good example than a bad example, but how can we be a good example of a Christian? Today in our Bible lesson, we're going to talk about a time when Jesus was with his disciples and he taught them a very valuable lesson by making himself an example. So today as we read our Bible story, I want you to pretend that you're one of the disciples listening and watching everything that's going on. So with that, let's get straight into our lesson, which is Jesus washes his disciples' feet, and this is based off of John chapter 13. Verse 1 through 17. Jesus washes his disciples' feet. This is found in John chapter 13, verse 1 through 17. It was almost time for the Jewish Passover feast. Jesus knew that it was time for him to leave this world and go back to the Father. He had always loved those who were his own in the world, and he loved them all the way to the end. Jesus and his followers were at the evening meal. The devil had already persuaded Judas to turn against Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had given him power over everything. He also knew that he had come from God and was going back to God. So during the meal, Jesus stood up and took off his outer clothing. Taking a towel, he wrapped it around his waist. Then he poured water into the bowl and he began to wash the disciples' feet. He dried them with the towel that was wrapped around him. Jesus came to Peter, but Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered, "You don't understand what I'm doing now, but you will understand later." Peter said, "No, you will never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "If I don't wash your feet, then you are not one of my people." Peter answered, "Lord, after you wash my feet, wash my hands and wash my head too." Jesus answered, "After a person has had a bath, his whole body is clean. He needs only to wash his feet. And you, my man, are clean, but not all of you." Jesus knew who would turn against him. That is why Jesus said, "Not all of you are clean." When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and sat down again. Jesus asked, "Do you understand what I have just done for you? You call me teacher and Lord, and this is right, because that is what I am. I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, so you should also wash each other's feet. I did this as an example for you, so you should do as I have done for you. I tell you the truth, a servant is not greater than his master, a messenger is not greater than the one who sent him. If you know these things, you will be happy if you do them." John chapter 13, verse 1 through 17. What better example of being loving and caring could we have than Jesus himself? The best way to show people Jesus is to allow people to see Jesus through us based off of doing what Jesus would do. We don't necessarily practice the same customs as washing feet as they did in Jesus' time. However, there's still so many other easy ways to show that same kind and humble spirit. Little things like telling the truth, saying thank you, and being there for others does the same thing. You don't need any special skills or talents. All you need to do is what's right. By doing what's right and being a good example of a Christian, people can see that God is really in you and that he makes a difference in your life. So with that, I challenge you this week, be a good example, be a good Christian, and allow people to see God through you. So with that, I hope you continue to stay safe, have a good week at home. Don't forget to participate in the rest of the remote learning activities that we have for you online, and we'll see you next week. God bless you.